Baker Mayfield is out of tomorrow night's game against the Broncos with a torn labrum in his non-throwing shoulder. That means Case Keenum is going to get the start in Thursday's game. Mayfield said he would play through it, but our Josina Anderson reports earlier that he's also dealing with something else in addition to that shoulder injury, I should say. Keenum, by the way, hasn't started a game since 2019 with Washington. Very effective in that 2017 season, leading the Vikings to the NFC Championship game, but since then, just 7-17 as a starter. Bring in Charles Davis from the NFL on CBS. Charles, the Browns also without their top two running backs. Top two receivers are banged up. Odell hoping to play. Two offensive linemen hurt. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Case Keenum, I mean, what kind of a chance does he really have against a really good defense?
Well, I better hope that Jedrick Wills at left tackle, Jack Conklin at right tackle, they find a way to keep Von Miller at bay. I mean, where he's catching a little bit of a break is Bradley Chubb's not in the lineup for Denver, but we know they're a pressure group, and Malik Reed often brings good pressure as well off the edge. So the reason I think Baker Mayfield is not playing is not because he doesn't want to give it a try. I think we all know he does. We know that his pain tolerance, his stubbornness, his competitiveness, and his just, you're not going to tell me what to do attitude wanted him to be out there Thursday night. I think Cleveland as an organization is protecting him from himself. Now, for Case Keenum, the whole issue is going to be where do you go with the football, because he can be a nifty operator if you have the people around him. You've already mentioned, Chris, a number of people who are out. Can Jarvis Landry make it back for this game? Odell Beckham Jr. is beat up. Austin Hooper at tight end may become his most viable target because the top two running backs in Chubb and Hunter are out. So all of that comes into play. But the beauty is, Case Keenum, you talk about a battler, a survivor, and a guy with a chip on his shoulder just like Baker Mayfield, but not as much in-your-face attitude. He's relishing this opportunity and this chance to operate, even though it looks like the chips are against him.
And the chips against the Cleveland Browns the rest of the way as well. 3-3. Playoff battle is straight uphill, and they're looking straight up at a couple of teams in their division. Bengals and Ravens facing off Sunday on CBS. Charles, the Bengals have a chance to grab first place heading into November. How about that? Seems like this team is ahead of schedule here, doesn't it?
Oh, I don't think there's any question they are ahead of schedule, and even the most optimistic Bengals fan or observer, I think would not. I don't think we'd be able to go back and find them and say, hey, you saw this game as being a big one in preseason, right? You saw this as one where the Bengals could announce their presence with authority. No, I don't think anyone saw that part. Maybe you saw them getting better. I like what they've done in recent years in the draft, and obviously Burrow and Jamar Chase, et cetera, et cetera. But I think defensively they've gotten a lot better. Signing Trey Hendrickson in the offseason, making a couple of moves over there. That has helped them. And these wins early have given them a lot of confidence. But I sat there racking my brain before we came on, Chris. I'm trying to think to myself, when was the last time we talked about Cincinnati in a true big game? Was it that playoff game against Pittsburgh that they had in hand and everything went to heck at the end of the ball game with Adam Jones getting the penalty and Vontaze Burfict getting the penalty, things that they did throughout their career where they would hurt their teams down the stretch, and the Bengals kicked one away? It's been a while, but it's back now, and it's legitimate. And how about Baltimore? Just what they've done all year long. This has the makings of a really good football game.
Lamar Jackson on one side, running all over the place, throwing all over the place. And then on the Cincinnati side, what a great deep connection that they hope to have for a decade plus to come. The Bayou brothers take a deep dive on Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Chris, let's go ahead and go back to the draft time. So many people said Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle out of Oregon, and understandably, you drafted Joe Burrow the year before, he had a knee injury. Make sure you get protection for him, build up that offensive line. Anthony Munoz, the all-world Hall of Fame offensive tackle, endorsed that move. But many said, hold on a second, more weapons, and you can find a tackle later on as more of a deep tackle draft. They went that route. And it's worked out because Jamar Chase was the number one receiver on most people's boards. What we forgot during preseason when he struggled dropping the football was that he hadn't played. Remember, he opted out in 2020. He was in fantastic shape. He really wanted to show that he was justifying being that top pick. I think he pressed a little in preseason, but Joe Burrow, the quarterback, never lost faith in him. He knew what he had because of their connection with LSU, kept his confidence high. Talk about being rewarded now. Over 20 yards a catch, 5 touchdowns already. Nary a drop to really find on tape, and he's chewing things up. And this Cincinnati team made the right move, the right decision moving forward. So I think this connection is going to be incredible. They already had it from LSU. They're honing it day in and day out now, and you better take them seriously. Otherwise, Jamar Chase will be dancing in your end zone.
Chase, the second most receiving yards through his first 6 games in NFL history, behind only Anquan Bolden almost 20 years ago. Bengals and Ravens on CBS this Sunday. Meantime, out in Hollywood, Matthew Stafford facing the Lions, Jared Goff returning to L.A., not really a fair fight, but certainly interesting given the backstory and the old QB swap this offseason.
Yeah, Chris, and I think this is all about narrative, okay? For Matthew Stafford, the narrative was tremendous player, never had a chance in Detroit, never got a chance to really show what he could do. Gets to Los Angeles, hooks up with Sean McVay, new offense, better players around him, a chance to rewrite what his history has been as a starter, and it seems almost seamless, doesn't it? What a connection between those two, and the team has benefited, and Matthew Stafford now comes to work every day thinking, I've got a chance to get to a Super Bowl and win it. For Jared Goff, the narrative was, you are a good quarterback with great players around you. Can you be the type of guy who can elevate a team that may not be as good and as talented? Well, he's in Detroit. That's exactly what he has. And already his head coach, Dan Campbell's come out and said he needs to do more. So unfortunately for him, his narrative is actually being solidified, which is something he was trying to change as well. And that's unfortunate for him. Now, this is a big chance this week. If they could pull off an upset, could help change some minds. But right now, to me, it's all about narratives. Matthew Stafford's narrative being rewritten in a positive way, Jared Goff's being solidified, and that's not something he wants.
And we started to see some real separation in the NFC West as well. Rams and Cards are combined 11-1. Niners and Seahawks both have losing records. How does 2-4 Seattle stay afloat with a couple more games now where they're for sure going to be without Russell Wilson? It might even be more. They've got the Saints on Monday night.
Well, in the old days, Chris, we'd say the Legion of Boom would take care of them. The defense will lift them up, and don't worry about it. You just give us 17 points, guys, and we've got this covered. It's not like that anymore. This defense is leaky, all right, and it's had trouble for the last couple of seasons. The running game isn't the same on offense. Chris Carson went on IR. So how do you get this done? They battled, they scrapped, they fought in Pittsburgh last week when it looked like they were going to get run over and made it a heck of a game and went into overtime before the Geno Smith fumble helped them lose the ball game. But I thought he acquitted himself quite well. The bottom line, though, is he's still not Russell Wilson with the extra magic. And this is where it really gets sticky for them, Chris, because in that NFC West, as we know, which is absolutely brutal, think about what they're dealing with now. Arizona's undefeated. Oh, and they get Houston this week. All right? The Rams, one loss. You just mentioned it. They get Detroit this week. Okay? So San Francisco, which is 2-3 and trying to find their footing, they're at home on Sunday night with Indianapolis coming to town. Seattle is looking at their other 3 divisional opponents who are all expected to win this weekend. That makes this even more of a must-win against a New Orleans team that's trying to figure out how to get the ball downfield and play to more of the strengths of Jameis Winston as their quarterback. And I know Sean Payton is cooking up some things like that right now. But this almost feels like a last stand game to me, Chris. In Seattle, at home, on a Monday night, a very good opponent in New Orleans. They've got to get it done in this one. Otherwise, I think they may lose touch in their division.
Yes, weird to see Seattle at home, prime time as an underdog. They started off as a 3-point dog to the Saints, now a 5-point underdog. Again, that's a Monday night game. Charles Davis with us here on HQ. We're going to see and hear from him this weekend. He's got the call for that middle game. Chiefs -5.5 at the Titans. Kansas City coming off a win against Washington. We know what the Titans did against the Bills last time out. That Bengals-Ravens game is also at 1. Bears-Bucks on CBS at 4:25 Eastern Time. Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics.
Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.